why is Blackbaud moving to unified view? Why are we moving away from database view? Why does this have to happen? Why is it taking place?
Um, well, number one is because tech changes over time and it evolves. And we, as a software company, owe it to our company and to our customers to always have modern technology in order to power your fundraising needs. The database, or Razor's Edge version, the database view version, is over 25 years old. And we are just needing to go through and modernize for lots of different reasons. Modern integrations through APIs, a modern UX experience for accessibility, security, reliability. All of those are the reasons why we need to continue to evolve. And I just want to make sure that it's clear, like once we get to a unified view, it's not like we're going to stop and like we're going to continue to evolve. The technology is going to continue to evolve. If we look at like what's going on with data right now, right? We've always had data. Austin, you know this, you love data. One day you could ask for things with data. Now data tells you things. So just as technology evolves, we have to evolve with it. So that's really the reason.
Yep. Somebody in the comments said they felt old here in 25 years, and I feel the same way too. Like I cannot believe that. But you put it in that perspective, like, oh my gosh, think how much technology changes in 25 years. I totally get it. Uh, Great
Who still
answer.
has a TV from 25 years ago?
I was just talking to my wife yesterday. Our kitchen TV was kind of acting up. I'm like, you know what? I probably better go shopping for a TV now. And she was so mad at me. It was
I
like
mean,
two.
I think I'm replacing the TV like every 3 years now.
That's
So,
that's the world we
and
live
your phones, I mean, let's not talk about the phones.
in. 25 years sounds a lot better or more understandable in that light. Okay, next question. This came up a ton in the survey and the feedback. Do you have a list of, as you're moving things over, do you have a list of features, fields, processes that aren't going over to unified view? People are like, people say, if something's not going to go, let me know. Is that something that exists? Is that something that's going to be shared with folks?
Yeah, so we are compiling and, we continue to evaluate what we need based on looking at data. So we use usage data as well to determine, I'll give an example of when David was doing the work for Query and determining what we needed to bring over with Query. We looked at usage data. It said nobody used Query List. But guess what? We found out that people do use Query List. And so while we can use data to inform and make intelligent decisions, we will continue to evaluate based on customer feedback whether we need to pull things in or out. So we'll never have a definitive list. It might be not, it's never not never, it's just not now.
Yep. So is it fair to say there is not a list that exists that says this stuff is definitely not coming over? There are probably things that like, look, this doesn't seem like it's used a whole lot, so obviously we're going to try and address the things that are used more. Is there a way for people to influence that, right? I heard you talk about like query list. Like, what's the best way if somebody feels very passionate about something and they want to make sure it makes it over? Like, what do you tell them? What should they be doing?
Put your idea in, crowdsource your ideas. We're
Yep.
listening, we're looking at them, we're trying our best to manage them. It's been so awesome to see you know, us kind of refresh and revitalize our approach to responding and addressing ideas. But that's also meant that our volume's gone way up too.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
it's a good problem to have, but I would absolutely suggest Idea Bank, work with your Blackbaud champion reps, your customer success. They understand voice of customer. We meet internally to talk about it. Community. Uh, Yes, we do watch the Facebook. So yes, we see all of the chatter there as well.
Okay.
And we're listening. And we hope that you um, feel that, understand that, and are seeing the intent of us doing that.
Yep. Well said. And I know that Austin, we can talk about later too. There have been a lot of success stories lately about idea bank stuff. There's nothing that makes people happier than that idea bank, that idea that everyone's been upvoting to see it like turn into reality. Like it's so affirming. Okay. Next question. And we have so many. I'm sorry. I'm going to go quick here.
Yeah.
Um, this is more of a software question. Like, explain to folks who are not software developers in PSG. We've been building software for a while now, so we feel your pain. Why does it take so long for people that say this exists in database view? Why can't you just click some buttons and have it exist in web view? Like, why can't it just be like port it over? Like functionality already exists. Why is this taking so long? What's the answer to
I mean, I ask my developers that every day. No,
that?
I'm kidding. Anthony, you want to take that one?
Yeah. So as we're building things out in WebView, we have our WebView data. So some things live in WebView versus some things that live in the actual RE7 SQL database. So we're building everything out new. We have data stores on the website. And as we're building things out, we're trying to make sure that we have that backwards compatibility and everything works in WebView that also works in database view. It's talking all the right stuff. So if we have things that are in WebView only, everything has to communicate. I feel like once we get to a point where we are fully in a WebView world and we're not reliant on that SQL database as much, we're going to be able to move way faster. So that's sort of the goal. But really, it's not necessarily double work, but ensuring that backwards compatibility is creating some extra overhead for us
Yeah.
as we move forward. So
It's
that's a bit of a crutch.
Anthony, is it fair to say it'd be easier to build something from scratch and not have to build it and then make sure it's working in reverse to go back to the RE7?
Yes and no, because a lot of the business logic lives in one side. So some of the business logic we're trying, like it's a bit of both. We do have a jumping off point with database view that helps in some aspects, but
Yep.
other aspects of the backwards compatibility creates more work. So I don't think it's quite a wash, but
Yep.
there's pros and cons of what we're currently doing.
Yep. I think that's a very honest answer. I appreciate that. Okay. We'll keep going. Question, will users be able to customize fields in WebView like they have in database view? And here I'm thinking, so PSG, we work with almost every Catholic diocese in the country. Many of them will take like a field in database view, like Stacy, what, like birthplace or something like that, and they'll repurpose it. Like that's where we're going to put our parish codes or something unique to them. They do that in database view. Is that something they'll be able to do in WebView? And whether the answer is yes or no, will the customization they've done in database view like make it over when this all jumps to the web?
David, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I can take a stab at that. So with WebView in general, we are going a bit more prescriptive, right? Like when database view was created, it was you can do everything any way you want to do it. And so we have renaming of fields, anything can be marked required. Like there's all of these changes that over the years have led to data issues for many customers. And so as we are working into a WebView world, we are kind of streamlining that. So that's why we haven't brought over field renaming up to this point, because we don't want to live in a world where one field is used to track literally up to infinite types of data. So that's why we would rather look at what are the custom ways you can store data, custom fields primarily, what gaps are those not meeting, and then meet those needs.
Yeah. Is it,
And we will
David, let me
also,
ask you a question. Somebody brought up and they said, hey, database view is like Android, right? And web view is like Apple. Like Android, you can customize anything. It's where super users want to go. Apple is more user friendly, right? They put some guardrails around it, can't customize as much stuff. Does that analogy hold up to you, like hearing you talk about this? Just out of curiosity.
It makes more sense to me today than it did yesterday when I heard that question. When you put it in that context.
Got it. Got it. Somebody brought it up and it stuck with me ever since. And only because at PSG we have this debate all the time. Like I am an Android we have probably more Android people than a typical company, but man, do people feel strongly when you bring it up in their iPhone people. I imagine you're dealing with some of the same stuff. Okay. Those are our big picture questions. I want to get into the weeds here. I will ask a question. Stacy and Austin, you're going to help translate in case I butcher something here, okay? In unified view, you guys are building export on top of query. It's been described as more of like a single layer thing that's happening instead of two separate processes. Looking through the responses and surveys and everything, this has people freaked out, right? I think that's the clinical term. And even after David, the demo and the pub, the two big unanswered questions I think are, how's that going to work? Will there be output templates that DBAs can use? And will exports that already exist in the world make it over to the new system?
So to the question of templates, you'll be able to save as. So right now you can save as, you can make changes, and then so you can copy 90% easily by just saving as and making changes. We do have a work item for migrating existing exports. Once we get the full sort of translation of existing format, multi-row format to single row format, that becomes a lot easier. So initial release, the migration piece will probably not be in place, but we do have it planned for later, yes.
Stacy, Austin, any follow-up on that? Does that make sense to you?
I guess the primary question I saw in the survey and what came out of the pub was concerns that people would have to rebuild their existing export files and it wouldn't work in the same way that database view does. So can you talk a little bit about what sort of why you went down the road of sort of grouping export and query together in WebView, the reasons why you went that direction, and then sort of how folks will get the same results, right?
Sure. Yeah, so I kind of mentioned this in the pub. So right now, the workflow in query and export is you go into one, you go into query, you create your grouping, right? So you're adding all your criteria. If you're not fully aware of what you're doing and what the workflow is, you may also be going into output, going into sort, looking at results and fiddling with that. So there's this whole step there. Then you do the same thing in export where you go, okay, now I'm going to go plug it into export, re-add output fields, choose all your sort of formatting filters and everything there. So it's just you're doing two similar things in different places. And for new users, that can be very confusing because sometimes you use one and not the other. And so we wanted to remove that room for confusion. As far as getting the same results, the layout is changing the layout gives you, if you're starting with the same group and you can apply filters, like our primary goal is to make sure you can get the same results. So we will not stop until you can. One area that I've seen confusion and concern is, hey, how do I include one export with another query and change that easily? And so we're achieving that through the select from query field, which is available now. So you can kind of test this out using two queries where one starts with one group and then you're kind of adding additional filtering or output fields on top of that.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned in the comment, and everybody kind of double clicked on it. Just to be specific, I think it was Vareed who wrote this. What happens to export templates that we use in database view for multiple queries? Will they have to rebuild full export each time they create a query?
No. So once that migration piece is in place, you will have it there. If you create a new one using select from, you'll be able to include it with multiple queries with the same number of clicks, essentially.
Awesome. David, does people concerned there, does that resonate with you? Like you get where people are coming from on this? Like as I look at the comments?
Absolutely. It has been a huge stressor for me because I know we're going in the right direction. Like it takes a bit to wrap your head around it. I fully get that. And so every time I talk to somebody new about it, I feel like, I kind of like circle around the topic a few times until we get it. And then we're like, oh, okay, so like, I totally get it. But if anyone does have gaps that still don't feel like they're met, definitely reach out and let us know.
And it reminds me of like in my early days at Blackbaud as a trainer, it was like, don't use query to export and it's not a reporting tool. Like, and we're changing the whole kind of way in which we're thinking about it. And I know that that's difficult and that's just one piece of the change. And there's going to be lots of pieces of the change that we'll have to think through and customers will have to think through.
Is it your experience that people love change and they run to it and they're really excited?
No, I don't think anybody likes change. I mean, some change is good, but
I have a t-shirt in the other room that proves otherwise.
Love it. Okay, let's talk. So thank you, David. Appreciate that. That was a hot topic. Another hot topic. Let's talk about email marketing. Okay. This is a three-parter. So OLX right now, tried and true, people, OLX diehards on the call here. It lets you send data from the emails, back in, right? You can track things like opens and clicks and things like that. NXT email doesn't have that, right? Email history is read only. Is that going to change and be improved so that people can have that same functionality when this moves to unified view?
I will say it's not a priority for next year. It's not, again, that we're not thinking about it. But we also know that there's other work that we need to do with email. But our focus right now is really to, gift management and import and export, the real big rock components. And that's going to take up most of 2026. If that capability is needed, I would continue to use Online Express. As we mentioned in the call, in the product update briefing, we'll retire Online Express when we retire Database View. So we said that's summer of 2027, so you still have lots of time to continue to use. And you may want to start looking at alternative. We've brought in Constant Contact as a new partner integrated into Razor's Edge NXT. In the meantime, if you're looking for modernizing your email functionality.
Is that a takeaway people should have? Is that so? The big announcement last year, BBCon with Constant Contact, is that a takeaway people should have? Is like, okay, Blackbaud's kind of not outsourced, but like they've had a partner that's doing email, so maybe NXT email, the built-in stuff, isn't going to be developed as much anymore. Is that a correct
I
assumption?
mean,
Is
I
that
will
not
say
correct?
that that is not our core competency. Our core competency is to help organizations raise more dollars.
Yep.
And so we want to rely on software companies that is their core competency. We will continue to have email functionality, but it will never be as robust as a Constant Contact or a MailChimp or any of the others that are out in the industry.
Yep. I think my second question you probably answered, but I want to make sure I ask it. So same thing, like frustration DBAs have is that you can't send an email to more than one address on a record, right? Technically you can, but it's all of those workarounds that we all know and love, and what makes it so valuable is you gotta clone it, right? Send it as a different group. Like, is that something that you see anywhere on the priority list, or does that fall under what we just talked about? The ability to
I
send.
mean, a bit of that falls into what we just talked about.
Yeah.
We did pull in the number one idea in the idea bank, which was to put addressee salutations in the list. And we're going to pull that in and support that. We hope to get that released in early next year.
Yep.
So at
Great.
least that's one thing to help kind of for those who want to continue to use the email, they can.
The idea bank works. And I feel for it too. So again, as we develop our own software, it's always a give and tug, right? Trade of like getting the core stuff that everybody wants, but then also people really love this one small thing. So how can I fit in this like one quick fix over here when we have this like 6-week project to do the meaningful stuff? I totally get it.
Yeah.
I saw in the chat people were going right where I was, which is relationships. Same thing, right? Sending email, partial relationships, non-constituents.
We hope to continue to pull some of those things in throughout the year, because we know that they're extremely important to help. And we'll let you guys know in our next product update briefing, or you'll see it marked as planned. When we mark something as planned in the idea bank, it's normally you'll expect to see it within the next 3 to 6 months.
Yep.
So
Awesome.
that's kind of our current timing.
Awesome. Quick reminder for folks. So I think we have 38 questions in there. Austin's probably answered 100 more if I know her. She's been furiously typing on the side. If you have questions, so we're about halfway through, a little bit more. We're going to start just grabbing questions that have come in. So if you have something that you want to ask, make sure to type it in there. Stacy and Austin are working on that. Okay. Back to the pre-written ones here that we culled from the survey. So it's been said that solicit codes are going to be retired, right? And that people should use consent management. Again, people are freaking out about this. Like, how is this going to work? It doesn't seem to be a one-to-one replacement, right? The consent versus what we were using solicit codes for. Like, can you talk about that? What people should expect, how it works?
Yeah, so we're actually, I'm going to say that this is one that we're still working on.
Okay.
So we have work to do to understand the solicit codes, the consent, and the communication preferences, and how all three will continue to work together. So stay tuned. In fact, David just put a meeting on the calendar for the week after Thanksgiving to kind of work through some of the details here, because our donation forms are using communication preferences, we're building consent, and we know solicit codes are extremely important. So
Yep. I think that's a good takeaway. Even again, as I sit here and try and read the chat stuff too, people definitely like solicit codes are a big deal, right? Don't move
Yeah,
my fees there.
absolutely.
This is a good opportunity. Trey, do you want to talk briefly about how does it work with like discovery calls, EAP? Like for people that don't build software, do you want to explain what you mean when you're like we're looking at things like what are those steps? What does that involve?
Absolutely. So I'll pick on Daisy's volunteer, for example. So we're looking at volunteer. We know what we have for volunteer. We know, what people are using it for, but what do they want to use it for next year?
Mhm.
Or what doesn't it do that it might do better? Those are the kind of discovery questions we like to spend time talking to customers, whether it's, on a phone call or through surveys or through a community post, and just kind of get some feedback from our customers. And then normally what will happen is we take that, we compile it, we work with our design team to build some prototypes. Then we put those prototypes in front of customers. And we say, hey, this is what we heard. Is this what you meant? And we'll get some additional feedback and we'll make changes and make updates. And once we feel good about that, we'll take it to our architects and our development team and we'll say, is this feasible? Can we build this? Is it possible? How much will it cost? All of those things, just if you're building a house, I like to always use that as my analogy. And then we'll actually plan for it, put it on the roadmap, and then we get to what we call the early adopter program or EAPs. And we'll ask, normally around 30 to 50 customers to take it for a test drive, see if it's actually working, provide feedback. We'll take that, incorporate that feedback. And then once we feel confident that customers, we use satisfaction surveys, we call them happiness surveys,
Mhm.
to determine that yes, people believe it's viable, feasible, and usable. And then we will release it to you all. So that's why sometimes you'll see in our What's New, it'll say for some of you.
Yeah.
That means we are rolling it out in waves to customers. That's something that's been through an early adopter program.
Awesome. Thank you, Trip, for taking the time for that. I think people
Yeah.
will be interested in that. You always hear about EAPs and you hear about discovery, and then you think, okay, how does this? Again, it's easy for us to think, well, you just click some buttons, right, and the new features are there. Like just as you describe it, from asking people what they want, building it, and then showing it to them, and then they say, oh no, that's not what I meant at all. Like, what is this? Like, that's not. I
And if
imagine.
that sounds interesting to anybody, I would absolutely suggest you get into product management because that's the fun part of our job.
If that sounds fun to you, send your resume to Trit. Okay. Event management, and I saw this in the chat too. So let's talk about that. Event management came up a lot in our surveys and in a lot of the questions I saw presented in the pub. It seems that users want to be able to run like their entire gala, right, in RE. Database view has some features right now. You can assign people to seats. You can do, Stacy and I were talking about this, you can run reports that you can't get anywhere else, like dollars raised per table, things like that. What, from the event standpoint, like what's going to unified view? Will we be able to run all of our events in there? Like what's the vision there? What's that look like?
Daisy, do you want to take that one?
Daisy,
Yeah,
your time to shine here.
my time to shine. Yes, one of my inherited areas. So, um, it's actually funny that you bring up events because, and like as if it hasn't been there for a long time in WebView, it's actually one of the core functionalities that came over from Database View, and we did a lot of focus and research and just that process that Tripp explained, right, and described of like, okay, what are we doing over here? How do modern events need to be done today over here in the web view, especially with a lot of event registrations and things going more online. No longer, I get invites to galas now in email, which blows my mind because that didn't happen in the past. So when we built all of that, we built a lot of the things thinking of, how is it going to be done in the, 2000s? How is it going to go beyond COVID? More online presence. And we're at a point where events is kind of one of our areas that is pretty already robust in the web view. You can go into events in the web view and start running an event. Also from like for our partners, our tech partners or our in-house developers, like the Sky API endpoints for events are also pretty robust and pretty done. But that doesn't mean we're going to stop developing, right? So even though the focus next year is the unified view, getting out of depth of DB view straight into web view, events is not going to see as much love in the next year as we've seen in the past. But it's not something that we're not thinking about or looking about. So we're still looking at the idea bank. We're still putting that into our backlog. I love how Danielle said that we're master multitaskers, because we're not just thinking about like, what do we need to get done today or tomorrow or next year? We're thinking about what should be coming in down the road. So events
Yep.
is definitely more of a down the road item, but it's not something that, I think Trey, you said it well. It's like never does not mean we're never going to do it.
So thank you, Daisy. Specific questions. Will like the seating be rolling out in WebView, the ability to seat people at tables?
We don't have plans to bring seating
Okay.
over. There's a partner that's created a pretty robust seating app. And we work closely with his team to make sure that, it meets the needs. Maybe in the future we'll come back and revisit, but again, when we're looking at the stack of priorities
Yep.
of where we need to focus, it's just not right now.
Yep. Yeah, Trent, let me pause and just say I appreciate you saying that so much. Like I know, like I'm putting myself in your shoes here, and you have an army of people that have been using this forever, right? You want to say yes to everybody. I get that, and obviously, if I'm using this, I'm really deeply invested in my part that I'm doing coming over the web. But I just want to applaud Blackbaud for just sharing that, right? Like priorities, it's not on the high priority right now. Just telling people straight, God bless you for just, treating people like adults and letting them know, here's the stuff that we're working on. Like, I think that's fantastic. So I know that the people feel the same way too. Whether they share that or not, I know that they just want honest, like, hey, yes, this is a high priority, it's a low priority. I think that's great. So thank you for doing that. Um, let's talk about the pulsing green dot in WebView. Okay. Uh, if you're moving from a world of database view to WebView is noticeably slower, laggier. What's going on there? Will it get better? And is there a chance could it get worse? Right, as more stuff jumps to the web. Like, what's? Give us your feedback on that, because I know that comes up all the time.
It does. And first and foremost, I want everyone to know on the call that we are monitoring on the back end. We have lots of monitoring that's happening. We see when those pulsing dots. Sometimes we can immediately make adjustments to kind of reduce that performance load, but it is absolutely top of mind. When we talk about priorities for what we're focused on, our our performance, our stability, our security is always number one. We also, and you may have noticed in the product update briefing, we talked a little bit about a constituent page refresh. We know that we are due for one of those. Over the years, the number of tiles that now show up on that constituent page is causing a bit of that load time because of the way it was architected and built. So we are looking at moving back to, hopefully everybody get excited, to tab view. So you can go to tabs to see, instead of having to scroll through all of that one page to see what you're trying to find.
Trent, you just broke the internet with the comments of tab view.
Yeah,
I've never
everybody
seen
loves the
anything like that
tabs.
in my life. I think
What's old is new again.
isn't that the truth? Like that, who knew? We arrive at the place we started, but we see it for the first time.
You
Um,
know?
oh, look at all the love. If there was emotion, like if people could do the heart thing like in Teams, you guys would be covered up your faces. Okay. So thank you for that. So those are like when we looked at the surveys, those are the big picture questions. Those are specific ones that we really wanted to get to. We have a couple more in the can if we want. Let's get to Q&A. So I'm going, Austin, do you have anything that you're dying to get to? And then I'll go to Stacy here. So take it away.
So one gap from the pub that everyone is losing their mind about is mail. So we're talking acknowledgement letters, tribute merges, quick letters, segmentation, pledge reminders.
Selecting
Pretty
contract.
please tell us you're bringing quick letters to WebView.
Okay, so I'm going to break this up into a couple of sections. So we call it internally gift communication. So anything like your acknowledgments, your receiving, your pledge reminders, those are all in the plan as part of bringing over gift processing into WebView. We currently are planning that to be in the first half of next year. as a focus, so that we again are we want to get all your gift processors into the web view. And so those are ultimately absolutely part of that. Then let's take mail proper, the quick letters, the other things that you might be doing to support your direct mail activities. We're evaluating whether we need to reimagine that and whether we need to use more powerful segmentation and analysis ways in which you to get access to that data. So the work that we're doing with query and export could be opportunities to leverage that instead of having to have this whole mail functionality. Because, I mean, if you look at database view, you will see duplication of processes all throughout and so many different ways to do so many different things. And so we're trying to narrow that down and make sure that we do one thing really, really, really great. And so that might be our answer for mail in the future. That's kind of what we're under consideration. Of course, we will do our discovery and we will talk to our customers and we will listen. But that's kind of why you haven't heard a lot about it, because we might reimagine and look at that. And we want to make sure that you will have the time once we make those calls and decisions to make changes to your business processes if needed.
Trit, is some of the tension that we feel around a desire from DBAs to be like, this is what exists now, take what exists, put it on the web, and I have exactly what I have been doing. That feeling and emotion versus what I hear from you is what you're doing now may not be the best for you. Even you don't know it yet, but like there might be better ways to do this sort of thing. When I hear you say reimagine, like is that putting a finger on like what some of the tension is? Just like give me my functionality exactly as it exists versus help me improve this. Is that
Yeah, I
fair?
mean, it's Henry Ford said it, it's like we're not going to build a faster horse.
Yeah,
He went and he built a car. Like, so what you know today and the way you solve things today might not be advantageous in the way to solve them in the future. And that is my team's job to ensure that we're doing that effectively and we're not just saying, oh, because we've done it this way for 20 years, this is the right way.
right. And so we get to that spot. Let's say it's 2 years from now. You've reimagined, everything's there, and everybody's happy. They've got cool new features and stuff. Is there any way we get to that 2 years from now without your team taking it on the chin for the next 2 years of people getting upset and saying, "How dare you know?" Like, is there any other way to get there other than just take the lumps? Like, is that?
I mean, that's our job to take the lumps.
Yeah,
I mean, the hardest part of being a product manager is saying no,
yeah,
but that's also something that we have to do pretty frequently. And, it's in the best interest of, you know, of the plan for us and the plan for you, and figuring it out. But again, like I said, feedback is absolutely a gift, and we take that feedback seriously and we make updates and changes. And I hope you're seeing that, just even, in the last 6 months or so.
yep, yep. Well said. Okay, Austin, what else do we need to get bonus points if you get something that makes Danielle talk today?
Ooh. Not yet. Maybe this is it. So there's a couple plugins, I guess. So thinking to like the one that I've only ever used, which is the Unpost plugin. We've sort of heard rumors that plugins are going away. And is there any plans to bring forward the plugins that we really rely on, like Unpost?
I can take that one. So specifically the Unpost plugin, when we built, I'm going to try and talk fast because I'm looking at the clock and it's running out. So when we built the posting process, we looked at all the plugins that were related to the posting process. So when we built that out, we wanted to natively have that functionality as part of the posting process and not have a separate, utility that you would run or plugin that you would run that have to do these things. So when we built the posting process, there was the ability to create a posting process, post those GIFs, and then revert those back if there's a problem. And the feedback said, I don't unpost based on the posting process that went over. I unpost based on bad funds, bad other data that I run a query for. So we are working on that, and it's close. So I don't think it's going to make it in before the end of the year, but unposting based on a query is going to be part of a process in posting. It's not going to be a separate utility that you would run. So, and I think that speaks for all of the other plugins. If it's a third-party partner plugin, we're working with them so that they can build out their functionality via API and have that natively function in the web. If it's a plugin that we built based off of some bugs that came in 20 years ago, we're either going to make sure those bugs don't happen or make that process part of a native functionality in the workflows that we bring to WebView. And that posting, unpost process is a good example.
Love it. That was a great
Yeah.
answer.
Plugins is a perfect example of like old technology. We built plugins because it was a way for us to ship faster. If anybody remembers that, you used to get a disk, and you used to have to, install, on your local desktop, and it was hard for us to be able to ship. So that's how plugins evolved. And they will not be brought forward as plugins in the future.
Got it. Stacy, is there anything that you want? I'll keep going to Austin all day long, but we got 10 minutes left. I know. Let's try and ask questions that have multiple interested parties here.
Lots of questions about SQL backups. Lots of people using those for Power BI or for other reporting, or just data warehousing type things. Any word on what will happen with all of those people?
Sure. So again, backups is another one of those more legacy ways in which to get access to your data. In the future, the way you will get access to your data is through either export or through our APIs. And so that's why building out the import and the export bulk APIs are extremely important to our full strategy, which is why we're kind of prioritizing those earlier in the year, not only for our partners to continue to building out their modern solutions, but also as the modern way in which you will get access to your data.
That sounds great. Also seeing a bunch about crystal reports while we're talking about old things.
So we actually announced, I think it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, that there was no support for crystal reports anymore.
People are still hanging on to them.
That hasn't changed, but what does that mean for our reporting strategy? And I will say that our reporting strategy continues to evolve. We are looking at, I think you've probably seen some refreshes of dashboards, some additions to filters, some new homepage dashboards. Standard reports will continue to evaluate based on usage the standard reports that exist in database view. And today, if you're looking for ways to create custom reports, Power BI is an option, and we have a very robust connector to Power BI as a way to build those reports. Other than that, you can choose whatever reporting tool that you need to build custom reports for your organization.
Austin, others that we want to tackle here.
We got a good one that Anthony answered in the chat, but I think it's important to bring it back up again. So this person is trying to post in WebView like they post in database view to the Financial Edge general ledger, but they would like a copy of the sort of post control report. What do they do?
Yeah, this is another good example of feedback. So when we built posting, we put the ability to export to CSV, and I said, "Hey, great, we can export to CSV. We're good." And then I got beat a little bit about, no, I need a report. It needs to be a PDF. CSV is editable. I can't hand that to my financial people. It's not true data. So we pivoted, and we're doing reports now for posts. So when I said the post to or the unpost utility is almost done, so is the control reports and the posting reports. So those are going to release very soon. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going to get it in before the end of the year. We start locking things down around the holidays and Giving Tuesdays so that we don't introduce anything negative into the system by accident. So just as a protective measure, I would expect that early Q1. And feedback in the batch EAP has been, I need my batch control reports as well. So once we release batch, or potentially before we release batch, the top things up on batch is going to be the reports. It's going to be gift code. Those are far and away the top requested items there. So those are coming.
Did you say gift code, Anthony?
Gift code, yeah. I don't know if you know it or heard it. People use gift code.
Yes.
So we're going to get that in batch as soon as I possibly can.
Loud and clear.
We have a couple questions about bringing the advanced search to WebView. So being able to search on more than just name, address, what have you.
So I guess this is my opportunity to say the two letters AI. So as we introduce Blackbaud AI Chat, which is starting to release, which will be global opt-in. You don't have to use it. It will be permissioned. You'll have to have a global opt-in to use it. But it is powerful. Just like Google has, if you've seen Google has their AI powered search now, you'll be able to use that. And you can find Robert Hernandez's wife, Wendy, through Blackbaud AI Chat. You can find the phone number to Wendy through Blackbaud AI Chat. So I would expect that that will probably be a way in which you will leverage to get some of that advanced search functionality. And again, that's a way looking at like modern ways to look at how we solve problems.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but it read through. Yeah, oh my gosh, AI. Like we know where that we can have a whole session on this, but
Yes.
In the surveys, clear response of some variation of the question. Man, I'm hearing a lot about AI. Like, why the shiny new stuff over here? Like, for Pete's sake, why can't you just give me the core functionality I need, right? Like, why can't we do that? Why are we focused on the next thing? Like, Trit, do you want to talk about that? Is that like
Yeah.
just different areas of Blackbaud? Like, obviously, it's something people are passionate about, and PSG included. I guess we have.
It's a balance. We have to do both. We have to be innovative. We have to be bringing new technology to you, even if you don't know that you need it or nor want it right now. And so, it's again no different than when the internet came out, and everybody's like, or when, I don't know, when you were using your Alexa app and you're like, oh, this is super cool. And then all of a sudden it was super creepy. Um, it's just technology. You can leverage it. You can find ways for it to be beneficial. We don't train on it. It is your data, no one else's data, that it's accessing. But with that, I will say healthy data will create less hallucinations. So,
Trit, are
uh,
you telling everybody to have PSG do a database audit and help them clean their database? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
I mean, if there's anything that, you want to focus on and make sure that you have is, um, and back to this, putting data in fields that maybe it shouldn't belong in, that's likely going to cause some hallucination in how
Right.
it responds to, I don't
But
know.
the good news is that's such a rare occurrence of anybody having unclean data, right, or putting data
I
in
mean,
weird spots. In edge case, right?
absolutely.
Uh,
You know what I would love to do? I would love to develop some like automation of all the queries that everyone creates for data cleanup. And instead of having to run those every day, that it automatically does it for you. And you have your own like little agent that's like, hey, did you see based on what that to me would be amazing to help with clean that data.
Trit is plugging the work of Austin and Stacy and Automate Genius and all the automated data cleanup stuff that they've been doing.